Yo, what is going on, everybody? It is Randeezus. Thank you so much for clicking on the video. As we all know, Call of Duty Warzone has kind of leveled out the past few weeks. Everything from a very balanced game, which absolutely no complaints here, to Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War coming out in just a few weeks. Warzone has been very stable, and there's not much to talk about. The only thing that I've been able to see in the community is the comparison between these two guns, the M4A1 and the Kilo 141. These assault rifles are the main two weapons of choice right now in Modern Warfare's Warzone, and today we're taking a deep dive into the stats of these weapons to see which you should use until Treyarch's Warzone takes the lead. So without further ado, let's get right into it. The M4A1 and the Kilo 141 have been in Modern Warfare's gunsmith since the game launched. However, only one of these weapons ever got constant love. The M4 has been used by the pros since the beginning of the game's life cycle, whereas the Kilo wasn't really used until Warzone dropped. Now, a big part of that is because the M4A1 used to have much better stats. It's been nerfed many times, going from a powerhouse of an AR to still admittedly one of the most popular ARs in the game and is still used in the CDL today. That's why the M4 is still very popular in Warzone, but recently a lot of big YouTubers have been running the Kilo. I've done comparisons with other weapons and the Kilo before, so if you've been subbed for a while, you really know that this weapon is a beast. But if you have yet to try this gun, you have to create a class, man. The Kilo is a monster, and with practice, it can be way more reliable than the M4. So let's look at the base stats. As you can see here, just the basic stats, these two guns are pretty much identical. The only differences are that the M4 has a slightly faster RPM and the Kilo has slightly better range stats. Honestly, if I were to pick one here, just based off the base stats, it would be the M4 because of the amount of cases where your enemy is in that 5 meters where the Kilo is better is honestly negligible. Whereas the M4 will always have a slightly faster RPM. However, let's be honest here, no one really uses the base weapons. We load these guys up with our favorite attachments, so let's take a look at what attachments I use. Both these weapons are super standard for Warzone. On the M4A1, I use a monolithic suppressor, M16 barrel, tac laser, commando foregrip, and a 60 round magazine. On the Kilo 141, I use the monolithic suppressor, Singard Arms 19.8 barrel, tac laser, VLK optic, and a 60 round magazine. By the way, if you didn't know, the VLK optic acts as an optic and a commando foregrip. The only reason why I don't use it on the M4 is because there's a little more side to side, and I find it slightly more difficult to control at longer distances, but that's gaming with a controller for you. So, what are the comparisons after the added attachments? Well, as you can see here, the Kilo's attachments seem to help it more than the M4's attachment helped the M4. ADS is a frame faster with the M4 and movement is slightly faster with the Kilo, but honestly both these stats are so tiny that you would barely notice them. Taking a look at this graph, however, shows that it seems from a quick glance that the M4 is better more often than it's not. The Kilo seems to be better in that mid-range. However, if you're running an SMG for close ranges, then you should be good to go. Kind of. The difference in time to kill between these weapons is less than 100 milliseconds, which is crazy fast. To put that into perspective, playing at 60 frames a second on console, that is less than 5 frames. Now, don't get me wrong, if you're hitting every single bullet no problem at 85 meters away, then sure, the M4A1 will kill about 5 frames faster than the Kilo, but the Kilo has a much more manageable recoil pattern. Now again, if you watched my videos in the past, both these weapons' recoil patterns should look very familiar. The M4 kicks up into the right and the Kilo kicks diagonally up into the left. First impressions look like the Kilo has a much better recoil pattern. So why isn't everybody using it? Well, in Call of Duty, typically recoil has always gone to the right. Every meta gun in Warzone, whether it be the Grau, Bruen, MP5, MP7, M4A1, or M13, all these guns kick to the right. So switching between these guns is very easy. However, switching to the Kilo is much more difficult, and this is directly because of the left kicking recoil. Even thinking about the M13, it has a very similar recoil pattern, except it's to the right, and everyone thinks it's a laser. But switch over to the Kilo, and suddenly that gun's not a laser. All in all, if you can get used to the Kilo's mirrored recoil pattern, you will beam your enemies from super far distances. Not saying that you can't do that with the M4A1, but it is much easier to do with the Kilo. Now, for my favorite but least scientific metric, my feelings. The M4A1 is a beast of a gun. I'll be honest. I love the look of it. I love the history of the weapon. I love the reload animation. I love how the different barrels, it resembles a different version of the M4, the M16 from previous Call of Duties. And in a mid-range, this weapon shreds. However, I think that the Kilo is slightly better than it, and it's all because of the recoil pattern. So if you can't get used to the strange left recoil of the Kilo, then the M4 will be a better choice for you. But the Kilo has the ability to consistently hit shots from 100+ meters, whereas I find the bounciness of the M4A1 makes it much more difficult. In every other one of my comparison videos, I make a case for the clear winner between the two guns, but I'm gonna be honest with you. You can make a case for both of these weapons. Personally, I choose the Kilo. I believe it is objectively better, but if you have a hard time controlling the left-leaning recoil, then by all means, the M4A1 might be the weapon for you. Guys, if you liked the video, like the video. If you loved the video, subscribe down below. And let me know in the comment section which of these two guns you prefer. Peace out.